Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing live show number 162. I am currently your only host, Lauren Gray. Thank you for joining us. For those who are eagerly waiting for us to start our show, I do know that we have a lot of logistics issues as to why some may not be able to join us today that are our co-hosts, primarily Mr. Stuart Butler from Fuel Travel. He's in Myrtle Beach, and as everyone knows from watching any aspect of the news, Myrtle Beach is having a little bit of weather. Fortunately, it diminished from what the earlier gloom and doom statements were, so we say, but still there was a great amount of rain. It still is, still will be, as also too a lot of unfortunate tidal surge and so forth. Being based in Florida and having this time last year going through Irma, I can honestly say that it is a definite and real threat, and for all of our friends, family, and acquaintances in the area that's being impacted, our thoughts are with you and hope that you are safe. This weather stuff is nothing to ever be fooled with. Even if it does diminish in wind speed, it still has a lot of punch and a lot of bad things that can happen because of the tidal surge and so forth. So we hope that you are all safe and took precautions and so forth. Getting some late minutes from emails. Unfortunately, Tim Peter with Tim Peter and Associates will not be able to join us today. He is outward bound, and as such, as we all know, Wi-Fi on airplanes do not make good combinations for live streaming. It's at best good for text only. Holly is also, she might be with us in the chat room. Unfortunately, she's doing multiple things at once, and so she'll be able to still fact check us, make sure everything's good and true of what we say, but she won't be able to join us as a talking head on the screen today. As for the rest of the Motley crew, Mr. Robert Cole, who was generous enough to share his ideas of what we should have as topics this week, as he always does, and Mr. Edward St. Ange from Flip2, they're just MIA. I have no idea where they are. So you might be with me for a little while, and I will be happy to make this my own personal show. Oh, Stuart, I just gave you the excuse of why you shouldn't be here. I was wishing you well in everything, and yet you've made it, and yet Mr. Ed, who has no reason, or Mr. Robert, who has no reason, isn't. That's amazing. And he's almost here. There he is. Are you doing live broadcast? Look at this.
Hey, what's up?
I just made amends for you. I was saying how you weren't going to be with us, that you were weathering the storm.
It's really not bad right here at this point in time in Myrtle Beach. So hopefully it'll stay that way for a little while.
I hope so too. Well, and so you have power and you have internet. This is amazing. This is good stuff.
Indeed.
Awesome.
Yeah. I've heard that a lot of the surrounding areas have already lost power, but we're still good where I am. From my undisclosed location, secure location.
But to say, you might turn into a very popular person very quickly if anybody's seeing this. But then if they don't have power, they're probably not watching anyway, right?
Well,
so you might be safe.
This is true.
Although I'm sure they're so loyal that they're watching it on their phone, even in the midst of the trials and tribulations.
Probably. I mean, even though without power and out any way to charge their phone, this is probably their priority right now.
They'll kill their battery just to watch the show.
I would imagine so.
We have that, and we have that kind of loyalty with the people that follow us. That's true. I think I don't know whether you caught the early part of the show. Tim is in transit. Holly is multitasking. Robert is now joining us. I was going to give him a bunch of grief, but he's here.
Sorry for being late. The wind and the
the Dallas wind. Yeah, spray yourself with some water.
I brought a spritz bottle, Stuart, just
That's
so
funny.
you wouldn't feel bad. So.
I'm dry right now, and the wind's not too bad. So
yeah.
Nice. No casualties of anything for you. I mean, the house is intact. Everything's good, right?
I'm not at my house, so I'm hoping so. But where we are, we're in an undisclosed hotel, and it's where a lot of the first responders are. So I don't know if you've ever seen a hotel get constructed on the beach, but they drive those big things down in the ground so far that they're not moving, So
and did you get a nice ground floor room with like one of those walkout pools and just kind of that
swim up?
Yeah. You finally got the swim in, swim out.
Indoor fishing.
You finally got upgraded.
It might be swim in when it floods, and we're swimming in our room later. But right now,
indoor fishing.
Stuart,
hello, Mr. Ed.
Where's the raincoat and like Jim Cantori type?
I'm inside. That's outside right here. It's not too bad right now. I mean, you can see some wind.
Yeah, you guys definitely dodged the bullet on this one.
Yeah.
Well, the flooding's still bad. The water is still bad.
It is. Yeah, the ocean looks pretty rough, but I wouldn't want to go surfing right now. but yeah.
Actually, the surfing off
Actually-
the coast of Florida right now is fantastic. Because
No, East Coast is good. East Coast is good. Sebastian Inlet, everybody's flocking to Sebastian right now. I used to have a chief engineer that he would watch the surf cams, and he's like, and he always did his work ahead of time. So I always knew when he walked him, he's like, "Dude, I got to go." I'm like, "All right, have fun," and off he went. Anyways, gentlemen, thank you very much, Stuart. Sincerely appreciate the extra effort of making over. I mean, if anybody you had the reason of not to be able to make it.
Hey, the show must go on, right? The show
right.
must go
Show must go on.
Yeah, in fact, I actually have a client call at 12, so I'm only on here for about another 20 minutes. So,
All right. Hey,
yeah. Apparently,
you know
we
what?
still
That
work
client-
during hurricanes here. That's our dedication to our clients at Fuel.
nice.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
that evil plan of the cloud seeding really worked to drum up kind of these new campaigns, kind of post-hurricane recovery.
That's right.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The steering
What do they
stuff
say
to
on-
have it steer a little bit north, hopefully avoid Myrtle Beach.
That's right.
What do they say on social? Quit wishing for rains in Africa. That'll slow the things down.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick. Well, not real quick, but the number one lead item. I want help with that chart that you sent out, Robert. If you can throw the link up for the PDF on it, I want to understand it a little bit because there's some questions I had on.
Are you unfamiliar with the famed? Whoops, where is it? Oh,
Hotel.
that's the.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
The
No, oh,
hospitality
that's the wrong.
dashboard.
That is the wrong. Oh, it's the wrong link. Oh. Yeah. Let me go
That could have
find
been
the
embarrassing.
Is this the
what?
this is the confidential and private link that wasn't supposed to be shared externally?
Yeah, exactly. How did those videos get live? Oh my god! No,
Well,
let me-
folks,
You heard it here first. I just posted the link for you.
exactly.
I didn't agree to confidentiality, so
Okay.
Robert
Okay.
might have something
That's right.
happening after.
Lauren, okay.
We're okay.
Full disclosure, Lauren told me about the site. It's monkeysintutus.com, and it's his favorite.
It's one of my
Okay.
favorites.
One of his, yes, exactly. Yeah, Lauren covers the full animal kingdom. Yes, so,
That's right. That's
But
right.
always in tutus.
Yeah, it's always in tutus.
Well, yes,
It's going to be.
of course.
so Stuart, while we're waiting for Robert to figure out how to do things,
Yeah.
are your
This whole
kids
internet thing
crazy?
still has me flummoxed. Yeah.
Just mash the buttons. What was the question, Ed?
are your kids completely going stir crazy?
No, they're loving it. I mean, I think there's about 30 staff members here and some first responders, and there's probably about 12 kids total. So they're just running around like lunatics, having fun. Like
Do you get to at least tell us whether it's a client hotel?
It is. Yeah. So,
Can you,
but I was asked
can
not
you
to
give us
disclose
the,
where we are.
Can you give us the address so we can call Child Protective Services? I think.
Hey, this is about the safest area you can be right now. We're very elevated. We're away from, even though you can see the ocean, we're further back than a lot of hotels, and yeah, we're very safe.
Okay, here is the proper link I just posted here for Hotel Ave. Maybe I
Looks
could
the
share.
same.
It looks
the same link. Yeah.
Wait, Hotel Ave hospitality dashboard?
Yeah, it looks the same.
Yeah. It's the same.
Oh. Okay. Oh, so you can see the link. Sorry. Oh no, you know what? I was looking at a different one. Yeah, that's the right link. I was
Right.
looking at the thing where it said no, I didn't see the Hotel Ave. It's on Blazonco.com. I didn't realize that they were hosting it somewhere else. So I thought, oh my God, what the hell's that? So
So if you
Okay.
open the link and you go over, can you talk to me a little bit through of the cost of business acquisition, the brand, voice, property direct, OTAs, the demand share versus
Sure.
Delta every year stuff?
yeah, let me see if I can screen share this. Whoops, and let's see if I can get it on the screen. If Webinar Jam will allow me to do that.
Mash that button.
Sure.
So is this just all data from earnings reports?
I don't actually know completely their whole sourcing. They put little sources under each one. So sometimes they'll have multiple sources. So yeah, Hotel Labs produced this for, I don't know if it's a year or two, but yeah, it's just really a consolidation of all the basic, figures, supply, demand, everything like that. you name it,
Yeah,
from the
because
industry.
it's really
So,
neat. I mean, the hodgepodge from all over the place. I was looking at the sources, and it's like, wow,
Well,
they're
oh
from
yeah.
lots of places.
So yeah, they kind of aggregate it. And Ed, I thought you'd like this because Ed and I went back and forth on Facebook. I recommended a link to Dr. Jeff Masters' blog at called Category 6 on Weather Underground. It's a good source for reliable, non-hyped hurricane information. But Ed seems to like more, what is it, SpaghettiModels.com, which is the
Mike's
the
weather
perfect
page, man.
Mike's weather page, which is the perfect website from a design perspective for those suffering from severe ADHD. So it has a lot of information on there. But
Really
this is
We just
This
lost
is-
Stuart, which could be a power line.
So we're gonna guess that we lost Stuart due to wind damage.
Exactly.
Oh, look, we're going
Yes.
into infinity.
Whoa, look
And
at
beyond.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if I
Go
can
back
get back
to-
on. There we go. We got it. Okay. So yeah. So if we start on the upper left, that has all the supply, demand, occupancy forecasts from CBRE, PwC, and STR, because they sometimes they vary. And for those who follow this, they generally start out higher at the beginning of the year and then lower toward the end of the year. Everybody starts out very optimistic, and then it gets a little bit more rational. But as you can see, demand is up 2.3%, but supply is up about 1.9, right? So it's and then they have the forecast for next year, or somewhere between, actually 1.8. PwC is a little bit less bullish. They're looking at actually demand being lower than supply, so a little drop in occupancy percentage this year, where the others are CBRE's flat, and STR
This is
is saying
specific to
the
the
2
markets that they're in.
But
Yes.
this is for
Or
the
is it
U.S.
just-
This is for the U.S. This is
Okay.
all
Regardless
this is
of
all
where
US.
their actual properties are.
right. This is the overall industry.
Okay.
Where it's going. So you can see ADR is kind of pushing it, somewhere between, around 2.5% is the consensus, which pushes RevPAR up at 2.5 to 3%, depending on how who you believe, sort of thing. So that's an interesting stat. So you can kind of see, hey, there's some supply coming in, and demand is basically about the same. They then have some of the investor surveys, which look again at PwC, U.S. Realty Consultants, and I can't remember what RERC stands for, but they basically have kind of the cap rates and discount rates, things like that. If you have a lot of money and want to go invest in hotels, those are very important stats. So we'll skip over it for the hospitality digital marketing folks. And then you have some coverage. Now this is just the REITs, really. So this is really for hotel ownership. So they're basically looking at EBITDA multiples and things like that, how they compare to last year. So you can see that some of them are getting higher, if not all of them. They probably are. Yeah. So overall, it's about 13.2 times earnings versus 11.9. So yeah,
Man, I'll tell you, from a
these
cap
stocks are
rate
getting more.
perspective, you can understand why there's so much growth in the limited service field. I mean, that's a really attractive average cap rate.
Yeah.
Man, if you can get into that ceiling of an 11% cap rate, like, holy smokes, all day. I would take that all day.
Oh yeah. Yep. So this is like the Bible for hotel developers and folks who are really putting money into it from an ownership perspective, or lending from a debt perspective as well. But then they go into the top markets, and I don't know if this is the top 10, 15 maybe. And again, they just kind of show what's going on a major market by major market basis. The interesting thing is this doesn't just have RevPAR, this has GoPAR, which is what the country should be, and the industry should be looking at, because how much of this is really carrying to the bottom line. Because you look at it, like Washington D.C., you go, wow, look at RevPAR is 357, but GoPAR is 159. That's a pretty big gap. There are some expenses involved apparently in running these hotels from your top line to at least your gross operating profit. So Anyway, but you can go down, kind of market by market and see who's really growing and who's growing and shrinking, and you can look at the, all of these guys are doing very well. It's record, record profitability. The next one down, kind of in the middle, is the commercial mortgage-based securities. So you can see what's happening with that for the terms and that sort of thing. They don't really have. There would be an interesting stat when times were bad, if they had the number of defaults. I think that would be a great stat, but they'd have to, maybe they have room for another column to squeeze in there. So when the downturn happens, default rates are always very interesting to look at. And then if we go to the upper right, we've got kind of the average length of stay, and I think this is a really interesting, the average length of stay and lead time, what's going on with those. So you can see, the leaders are actually luxury and economy for 2.2 days length of stay, and people go, oh, well, that's only 0.3 between, or the low is 1.8 days. That's not too much. 0.4 off of 2 days is about 20%. And that makes a good difference in terms of driving, how many reservations you have to find for people to stay and how long they stay. So that's good. Cost of, I think the best, well, actually I'll cover all of them and then come back to cost of business acquisition. They've got all the North American RevPAR comparisons by real estate investment trust, as well as the major hotel groups. So you can see what's going on. And I think that's probably the second most interesting comparison. It's kind of down in the bottom left. I don't know if can you see my cursor kind of circle around there? Oh, yep. Okay, good. Yeah, so down here, you can see, well, here's what's going on overall with the industry, but are people ahead of this or behind this? So you can start looking at Hilton and go, wow, Hilton's up 3.5% from a RevPAR basis. What were they looking at? From this for RevPAR was 3.1, 3.3, 3.2. Hey, Hilton's doing pretty good. What's happening with Hyatt? Hyatt, this is select service, seems to be lagging and actually dropping, as opposed to Hyatt, the full service one, which is getting up to 4, which is fantastic. Marriott 2.7 to 3.1, actually overall kind of a little bit lower. So and they have the guidance of what they're saying is happening. So again,
LaSalle had a massive improvement, negative 2.4 to positive 1.7. That's
Well, and some of these with the REITs, it depends if they sell off part of their portfolios. I mean, that is one. I mean, Hyatt may have this, the select service. That may be because they opened a huge number of hotels that aren't performing. I don't know. Or they went to secondary markets, right? So let's say they were in primary markets and they're now going out to secondary ones. So lots of different things. But again, you can kind of see what's happening. And a lot of the equity analysts just look at this, and I mean, it's just like in, out, buy, sell, based on how they're doing against the competition without necessarily looking at the other thing. Future demand. This is from TravelClick stuff. Sorry, TravelClick, I'm always a little bit suspect on some of these stats because they flail around wildly. I think somebody really needs to go in and look at these stats compared to what
don't
really
look behind the curtain, Robert.
Exactly. Well, actually, somebody was doing a very interesting one with CBRE, PwC, and STR of those trends year over year of how they always go. Somebody did a blog post on it, which was pretty good. Going, hey guys, they seem to autocorrect throughout the year. And then really the construction pipeline again. You look at, boy, Nashville's adding 12% of their current hotel inventory, new stuff coming online. New York, 11%. So
I can talk to that directly. I can tell you that right now in the math of things, when you have to include that in your pipeline and the elasticity of inventory for Airbnb, you get a hot mix when it comes to rate opportunity and so forth. It all really lands as to how you market, and when you slice it in as to where you're dropping your rates based on inventory coming in, elasticity of the inventory coming in from Airbnb, their book windows. It gets real mixy.
Oh yeah. Yep, it's great.
But we're not doing too can tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, the sourcing is very interesting on it. I just really like, they've got stuff from Calibri up here for length of stay. They've got STR stuff. They've got, different, capital advisor. I mean, it's all over the place, because these guys, advise and manage a lot of hotels. So.
Robert, can you go back to the cost of business acquisition?
Yes.
That was the one that was harder for me to understand.
The cost of business acquisition. What they're saying is brand.com. Now, this is overall. This is calculated. It's basically COPE and that sort of thing from Calibri. Now, one thing, remember, Calibri is just really, about 5 major hotel groups, right? I think it's 5.
Right.
They may have a couple more, right, at this point. So this is kind of the big, the Marriott, Hilton, Hilton guys. But when you look at it, brand.com is taking 22% of overall. Now they call it demand. It's basically where that's the source of business, right? So brand.com's 22.1%. It's up 5.5% year over year. And it's generating their COPE percentage of 94.2, right? And that hasn't changed year over year. It's generating kind of the same profitability index. So that's all fine. But here's the big thing, which I think on this page makes it screams out so loud and clear. Voice is 7.7% of their overall share, right? But it's down 4.1. So that's coming into central res, right? So you would think most of that central res volume is going to brand.com. I mean, that's where a lot of this growth, I mean, a lot of stuff I did for Focusrite, this is, a few years ago, was saying, hey guys, be careful about this ramp up in hotels in terms of what's going online. This is shift from offline to online, right? That's not newfound people coming from somewhere that they didn't have before. So when you net that out, that's only about 1.4% growth, which is not so great. Then you go down to property direct share and go, oh, well, it's at 27%, which is the largest share. So that's going to include anybody who's generally, it's corporate, things like anything that's kind of getting booked on contracts, the sales office, they're booking through anything that's transient, that's getting booked through the sales office, that sort of thing. They're call in.
That's the part I don't understand, though. That's the part, because for me,
down
wouldn't brand.com, if the shift from voice goes to the website, wouldn't, because it's coming from Calibri, mean that it would be represented in brand.com? Because
the property direct stuff
and everything is brand, right? Or would it be considered property direct?
Well, wait, for which? For a property with its own website, or for
No, because you're talking about, should they represent inventory-wise mainly brands? And yes, there's
right.
vanity sites and everything, but all that funnels through the brand book engine. And take Marriott
for the
out
ones
of the
that Calibri has, yes, yeah, exactly.
Right. So you take Marriott out of the hat. Marriott's app, by the way, I have to give them kudos. I don't even bother any other place. I use the app. That's all I use. But would that be considered by Calibri as brand.com or property direct? Because I'm going onto the app for that hotel to book that hotel. Wouldn't brand take credit for that, or would Calibri give credit
in
for
Marriott's world? No, that would be the brand, because Marriott fundamentally, this was maybe decades ago now, they disabled the reservation handlers in their property management systems, right?
Well,
so there wasn't anything except for Marcia, right, to handle these.
And last year, Hilton really turned the screws on all the franchise properties about dropping their vanity sites.
Vanity sites, yeah.
So, I mean, that's why you see such a strong year-over-year drop from property direct.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And that's a very good point. That may be
that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. I just like, for instance, I don't know what the property direct is, because group's individually down there, and group would be kind of indicative of 15%. Seems a little odd. I would put it into maybe a little higher, but okay, understandable. You're swathing a huge area. I just don't understand the definition of property direct in the terms of what is that? Is that walk-in? Is that
yes, it would be walk-in.
L&R rates? I mean, even L&R rates are basically handled online, so I don't know how that lands even.
Well, that's where
And-
understanding this would actually help you understand the true state of some of these shifts. Because
Right.
quite honestly, if you look at it from just a cursory review, you go, well, okay, some moves from voice and property direct didn't go completely to brand.com. Actually,
Right.
it went
Wound
to
up
brand,
going to OTA,
OTA.
7.5%.
Right. So
Yeah.
so then you have to ask again, what's in property direct? Because if it is some of these strategy shifts, like those strategy shifts were bad ideas, is what this data would be telling you.
Right. Well,
Right.
and look at these. At the COPE of Property Direct is 97%. Right. Now, these aren't the fully diluted. I can't remember what. Cindy has another one which includes all the like franchise fees. So reportedly does that. I still haven't quite gotten the full number breakout of how that all that math really works. But when you start looking at those, you go, yeah, the brand.com stuff isn't. Its profitability hasn't increased year over year, right? I mean, that's that's not a good situation. And all of a sudden you look at the OTA stuff, you go, yeah, there's a share shift, and hey, it's a little bit more profitable. As is wholesale. So that may be
Right.
these major brands fighting back a little bit with the OTAs and the wholesalers again, because we're at record occupancies. This is the peak of a pretty long extended peak.
And I
peak
also wonder whether
occupancy
the wholesaler segment is also in that undercut. Again, going back to the source of the data for Calibri Labs being so brand centric as this is that also the affiliate fight that they have, where wholesalers are offering the negotiated rates unbundled and undercutting and getting market share out of it. You know what I mean?
Oh no! That FIT wholesale is really just
Robert,
'cause it's-
we've ruined this whole thing now.
what
Great job.
we've ruined.
Tells you nothing.
What
Actually, it
tells you
tells a little bit. That section. The
It
other
tells
stuff
you
I
that
think
there's
is
been a dynamic shift, but you can't fundamentally understand what it means or where it went.
Oh, in terms of these, no, this is just showing it again because it's the Calibri numbers of the relatively small group. But again, if you're looking at this for overall publicly, if you know that this is Calibri stuff with basically 5 large publicly traded hotel companies, right? The one
right. You have to take that
takeaway,
grain of salt.
yeah, you have to look at that and go, look at this, all this stuff that they year over year looks like OTA is growing, and it's not really it's not happening on the brand voice property direct type stuff with the really high COPE stuff. What's building is this down here, which again is a little bit ironic because this is these are peak periods when these guys should be able to be squeezing that out hypothetically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it bodes pretty well for I mean, you look at these numbers and you go, yeah, Expedia, Booking.com probably should be pretty bullish on those, maybe. So, I don't know. So it doesn't look like, at least from these numbers, does not look like a lot of these book direct things are working quite as well as one may be led to believe by the hotel groups. I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying on the Focusrite conference for second center stage. I'm wrangling to become the person who interviews O'Kellen, who's Hilton's CMO, who's kind of the main hotel speaker. So love to ask some questions about this overall. So we'll see. But anyway, I just like this report. It's a lot of data. Right. So, not necessarily, as with everything in the hotel industry, it's hard to compare. We'll find one number that really represents everything. I mean, again, when you look at the STR numbers overall, just assume that does not include Las Vegas. and MGM itself has 45,000 rooms per night. I can't remember how many Caesars has. They're probably 30,000. So right there, you've got close to 100,000 rooms that aren't even getting calculated in terms of occupancies and ADRs and STRs numbers. So anyway, that's it. I just think it's it's an interesting one that people should be aware of, and a nice service being provided by our friends at Hotel Ave.
No, I mean, believe me, there was a lot of great information in it and a lot of reaffirmational information in it. It's just that section, because it came from Calibre, was confusing me as to what exactly is the property stuff, what exactly is the brand stuff, where did the voice, the call go? Because if that's central res, why did it go and where did it go? And look at the OTA. So there is some stuff in there. It's just not as clean as you would hope that would, by definition, what those sections are, what they would be. But anyway. And also as a testament that I looked at your links. Well,
that's good. I can probably go back and see if you clicked on any of those, but I won't do that.
I pulled it into my Evernote first. So the link trail is dead. No.
Yes.
What else? Okay, so I have a couple other things that are not on your list, so I want to make sure we hit the highlights of your list because you have some great stuff in there.
Well, no, please go ahead.
No, because this is going to solicit some possible dialogue between Ed and myself as to giving powerful tools in the hands of minors. I'm happy to referee. But yeah, you're kind of visually in the middle right now, so
let's go with it. Actually, you're in the middle.
So is this the Peace Corps versus the nanny state? Is that what we're talking about?
So I'm getting into I was asked by a client to do a POV on a vendor that approached them that wants to put in echoes in their hotel room. See, look at the eye roll. Look at the eye roll. Okay. Now, of course, it's bogus. I mean, actually, the fun part of it was the methodology of what these would be used for is really cool. But to be on Ed's side of this conversation, the need to put hardware into the room, first off, not necessary. Don't want to do it. No reason for it. Okay.
Right.
You can carry this stuff with your phone already. So I dove me into building what it takes to make skills in Alexa, which is actually dirt freaking easy.
Yep.
I mean, it really is scary easy. But the neat part of it was, and I'm messing with one right now, there is already some free concierge platforms that will do it and put it into Alexa as a skill set and Google Assistant, which is also, might I say, dirt easy to make in there too. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of fun because the engagement part of it is really cool because I'm also making bots, which is another one that Ed hates because that's tools for the hands of minors. Because you can get dangerous with what you want bots to do and then get reliant on them and you lose your customer service. But this thing where you can ask your Google Assistant or your Alexa on your phone, what's the hotel Wi-Fi? And it'll tell you. And you can, and the hotel can change it each day. Can you tell housekeeping to bring up towels? And it'll actually do the SMS messaging over to housekeeping. And this is already set up. And the cool part is it's already free. It's a platform out there that you can actually put into your hotel. They'll give you an account for your hotel. And you can build it for it. And then when you want more stuff and you want a better dashboard and more functionality, then you pay, $50 and you can have more functionality. But things like, what should I do? Where should I eat? All these level 1 questions are now discussable, voice command stuff. And you can actually have your own welcome. Like, would you like a welcome from the GM? Yes. Just to hear them say how much they want to kiss your butt, but it's kind of neat considering that it's out there. So I'm throwing that out that, okay, I have these places. I'm not going to put the links up because, again, until Ed convinces me otherwise, and then I'll put it up afterwards if he doesn't convince me. What do you think? I mean, this is some crazy stuff.
So here's my question. Did you read their agreement that they're offering?
Yeah, and they don't keep the data.
They don't keep the data.
They don't keep the data.
They don't use the data for any purposes outside of servicing the account.
They're only servicing the account. And you're using what you do is you add the skill to your Alexa or you add the function to your assistant. You actually go and get it. So what you would say is, hey, Alexa, Hotel XYZ, open a Hotel XYZ. And it opens it up, okay? And you say, can you tell me Hotel XYZ, what is today's password? And all they do is they allow that functionality. You have the dashboard to put in your stuff of what you can use your own voice that answers it back. You can use text and use the automated voice to answer it back.
But my question is why do you need to put Alexas in the room then? Like, why can't you just expose that same functionality to any of the, let the person bring their own voice control if they want to bring their own voice control.
And I completely agree with you. That's what the people that did.
Your idea about wanting to change hotel Wi-Fi, first of all, Apple and Android have already made it easy. Their devices now natively recognize QR codes. You can put a QR code up on the hotel's TV that you can change it whenever, and then that instantly will log in the device to the correct Wi-Fi as well.
It's an example of what the audio part, just to be able to ask that kind of direct individual
I know,
data thing.
but my point again is like investing anything and putting devices in your room that require your consumer.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. That was the POV I shut down. This company that was doing was they wanted to put $5,000 worth of devices. Like, screw that. You don't want devices. You don't want tablets. You don't want the person's walking in with their tech. They have their tech already.
And understand, specific types of devices are designed to look out of date very quickly. It's how they sell such a high volume of them. And if you guys remember when Aria opened up in Vegas, that thing was like slick with the room automation and everything. Have any of you been back to Aria since? Like the device,
I was at Encore. I was at Encore.
The devices have not aged well. Like you look at them and they're super thick when you compare them now to current tablets. And
they're like version iPad 2s or something like that, right?
Not even. They were thicker than that because they were kind of beefed up for the commercial use. They're like that thick. Yeah, and so you look at that from the day they opened those rooms, the rooms started aging at a faster rate than they would without that technology. It's the same issue car manufacturers have actually figured out with their cars is the new way that screens are being used in cars is actually artificially aging and dropping the perceived value of used cars, which I know you probably think that doesn't sound like a big issue, but for someone like BMW, who actually makes their model off of leasing new cars and CPO, certified pre-owned, the used cars, well, if the used cars, value has dropped because they've aged at an accelerated rate because of the design of technology, it actually ruins your entire model. And so this is what I warn hotels again. Let's just look. This was the first version of the Echo from the beta. Okay, it's aged. Like they're not this big anymore. They don't need to be. And it's not even that old. This device is a year and a half old. So like you put this in your room and it instantly looks old. By the time
I'm not disagreeing with the product. That's the thing. The POV was easy to shoot down because one, you never want to put crap like that in your rooms. Two, there's the whole legal issues and data and everything, as you pointed out. I was like, hey, what I found in the process of the POV, though, is the question I have is there's platforms already out there. Not that I'm already tweaking with how I can make one myself, which is it's just fun. Okay, is that you can do this if you think that this enhances your guest experience.
Sure.
That if you feel that this can add to
yourself.
But
that you can make these things, and yes, to the point you made, they're not retaining the data, so it's not as if they're collecting who's engaged with it and so forth.
Well, this vendor is really Amazon is.
Amazon I can't speak about, but the idea of the fact, because they know what you're using for your Alexa and Google Assistant for that matter, it's always going to refine what it is you're choosing. But I think it's kind of cool that rather than having the labor manpower to do an at your service where somebody's sitting at a computer terminal waiting for the phone calls to run from the rooms, answering questions and so forth, or trying to shove so much collateral in somebody's face with magazines and out-of-date ring binders in your room that nobody looks at anywhere. And certainly you don't keep clean and upkept so that people are like, this looks terrible. You can actually talk and say, hey, what are some local things to do? And you could feature places. You can, hey, I want housekeeping,
you can do a lot.
But here's the thing. Let's be honest here. You've always been able to do this. It's been different median every time. The fact that consumers have a desire for it hasn't changed. The fact that hotels are not motivated to correctly invest the effort, time, money in making it quality content is the problem. Mobile apps.
Just like social media, same thing. Mobile, all those things of if you're going to do it, it's real work. And you've got to keep, the maintenance will kill you. Right.
And so that's the thing to understand here is, first of all, if it was truly something hoteliers would see as a value, it would have already been mastered in one of the previous iterations of which that content could be consumed. But the bottom line is, like, it's not a priority. It's never going to be a priority for them. So the worst thing you can do is point out to your consumer by half-assing it that it's not a priority for you. You're faking it. You're being unauthentic.
Going back to your Aria, I was in the Encore, and I'll say this because I said it to the hotel person that was representing the Aria at the time, or the Encore at the time. They had 5 channels on their custom TV that was supposed to be for them: convention information, so forth and so on, local information. Yeah. None of them had anything on them.
Yeah.
Which is like, wow. I mean, you have this opportunity to let me know where I'm going to go have my meeting or whatever, or tell me what I should know about the resort. And all they did was play over the promotional video, which was all of a minute, over and
over. Yeah.
With no helpful information. You know, it's like, tell me about the restaurant, show me the menus, give me the events going on. And they had the channels there, but they didn't invest in them.
And if they're a member of a group, cross-reference it to like a group page, which has all but that takes a lot of work. And even the local information. I mean, you go, this is the great steakhouse and the sushi bar and those things close, change concepts, change ownership, all that, and somebody's got to go, especially if you have something that's recorded in a blurb where it isn't, you can set your, set all these tasks to be, answer for what's the best steakhouse, right? And it can be one-off, or is it a general question, what are good restaurants in the area? If you have a stream of those where there are 8, you got to record that whole thing over again, right? Response, which is,
and here's the thing,
really, from a content management perspective, even keeping that for someone who has, I'm not going to call them voice talent, but whoever's talking or doing something with it, unless you're going to go with the computer generated type, stuff. I don't know. How are you going to do this? It's
about setting expectation, and you're unnecessarily setting up an expectation to then you're guaranteed you're going to leave someone disappointed. Whereas if you just picked one way to be helpful in any of these things, whether it's the TV channel, whether it's your mobile app, whether it's your website, by the way, super easy for your website to be able to identify that they're on your property right now, because chances are they're coming through your Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
which that in itself, and just take that as a lead lesson, is everything I do with every one of my clients, and it's perennial, is we take over their Wi-Fi login, and we if it warrants it, we branch it out to a concierge level engagement, which is all about being centric into there. You can make mobile, if you want to do browser based engagement, you can make it where you put a fence around your location that when you're within 3 miles, when you go to the website, it changes what you go to, because then it turns into a concierge engagement platform, not website as if I'm anywhere in the world. And answering these questions and doing this. What gets me excited is that I've been doing that a long time, but now there's this voice thing. The other one I want to throw out there, which is right in line with this, is there's a fun little platform I'm playing with called QueryBot, which is ability to put a bot on a website, but you can make it really conditional. So now when you're offering specials and so forth, or have unique landing pages, the QueryBot is specific to that page. So it's not like you have a bot that's for your website. You got to go through this tree of logic to get to what you're interested in. You can do a bot engagement specific to the page and based on the content. So even though you think you have everything you want on it, maybe they don't want to read it, maybe they only have a particular question, the bot can actually engage and answer a lot, or engage with whatever it is that they have a direct interest in. And I'm playing with it. I'm hoping that it'll improve conversions to site, because if I have it specific to an offer or something, it adds and augments some of the data variations that you can't just put into a page hoping they find them.
Yep. And more importantly too is any of these things you're going to do, you should be asking the question of, why are these questions being asked? And am I addressing it at the right moment? Or should this have been addressed somewhere else? And quite honestly, I'm just going to say this right now. If you're a hotelier considering a capital spend, let me tell you the best place you can spend that money. It's your check-in experience.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's your check-in experience. You need to become obsessed with your check-in experience. If you nail your check-in, everything else is softened. Any challenge a traveler has gets softened by the fact that it was a great, painless check-in. But I'll tell you what, I look at data from a lot of hotels, and the really mad customers all have the same exact thing in common: something wrong with check-in.
Yep.
Psychologically, what are the two? It's always primacy and recency, right? Stuff in the middle kind of, fades in and out. But boy, that first impression, and they go, "That was horrible. I ran the gauntlet and survived."
That's the tone.
Finally got to their room.
Listen,
Or at the end where their bill is screwed up or something's wrong with it.
Right. So invest in those areas, stay out of this other stuff, because all this other stuff, I can guarantee you, if you're being honest with yourself, you will underinvest in the upkeep and the tracking and learning that you need to do to really fine tune it to make it of quality. And by the way, so won't a vendor, because a vendor's, unless they can figure out how to monetize it, which then, that's a whole other thing. They're not going to invest in it the way it really needs to be either. So,
right.
Bottom line is, don't set the expectation. Then you don't have it as a problem. You don't leave the chance for anyone to be disappointed. And if you do want to put effort into anything, think about where the more appropriate place to experiment with providing this information is. You have screens today that you could have been doing these same exact things with all along, and you haven't done it. Now, all of a sudden, we have voice control, and everyone wants to start trying to cram it into that. It's the same thing. Guys, how many booking engines do you see on Facebook? And yet, when Facebook really started coming up, what was everyone talking about? Being able to take booking on Facebook. Now they're doing it on chat. How do I take bookings on chat? Guys, come on.
Yeah.
You're using... You're misunderstanding the use case of the technology, and all you're doing is making a mess.
Right.
I'll tell you one thing that's kind of interesting. I was talking to a person that was doing a dev on something that they're looking for funding for. It's a kiosk that you walk up to, and it does facial recognition based on your ID you put underneath of it, which then authenticates your near-field communication to walk up to the room that's assigned to you.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's really good use.
Maybe.
You have all the information, and all of a sudden your RFID is now activated, and you go to your room.
See, that I love, because here's the thing: I've sat in countless hotel lobbies where I see these kiosks where allegedly you can check in, and they're offline, or they're not working. They didn't get the email to you that should have gone out to you. And you're just standing in line looking at these machines going, wow, I can see what life could be, but instead I'm here.
Yeah, and then it goes walk over to the desk,
right.
or
and that just makes life worse. So you're actually better off if you can't have it as a high availability primary source for checking in. You're better off not having it, because it's just a visual reminder of the people waiting in line, and it's just escalating their irritation.
Well, and if you do it well, and not many groups do, but if you can also do it almost like the airline apps, right, with their kiosks, where yes, it's annoying on the airline. Do you want to be upsold this and buy points and things like that?
Annoying. What are you talking about?
No. What I'm saying is for upgrades and things like that, if you can go say,
because sometimes those upgrades are super cheap. And
no. For the upgrades on the airline app, airline will be like, would you like to have the point multiplier? Would you like to do that? There's a whole bunch of kind of really secondary stuff. But but on this, you want to and go, hey, if you can show something, and not many between the PMS and the kiosk and that sort of thing can do it, where you go, yeah, here's a layout of the. Would you prefer to upgrade for only $10 a night or something like that to go to this room, or $25 a night? Hey, it's a suite. Look, it's a high floor. This is fantastic.
Right.
That's hugely. How many are doing it? Next to none. Right. And, which is horrible.
And of course, going back to your point, Ed, about long lines or bad checking experience, the last thing you want to do is over inundate your front desk team with this protocol of scripting that has to go through the same process at that moment, saying, well, Mr. Gray, we see that you're in such and such room. Would you like to upgrade for $50? Would you like an extra $20 coupon for only $10 if you want to get, you don't have the time to extend that check-in when there's a line behind them. It's like you really want to authenticate, validate, and move on. Authenticate, validate, move on.
And how many of these are really shooting a picture of the ID, interpreting that, pulling off the guest name, seeing if it matches, whatever on that? there's no chance, right? I mean, that is just not
Right.
happening. Well, and that's where I get into a lot of things on this is just the flat out security. I mean, Lauren being able to build the bots and put it on the, how locked down is this code, right?
Right.
How, what are the interfaces into the property management system? And, Lord knows the hotel where somebody comes in and goes, you know what? I want to get, I don't know if it's a paparazzi person who wants to know who's checked into whatever rooms. It can be anything where you go, yeah, I'll give, Benji over here, the bellman, who's looking for some extra cash, a little something. It's the same thing as spoofing, access points and things like that. I mean, it's all over the industry, and it's little attacks at the property level where how secure. This is really easy to use. It's great. Anybody in the hotel can update this quickly, which is great from that content management perspective of keeping it updated. But that ease of use versus security spectrum.
I'll quote Ed from 2 years
a tough
or
one.
3 years ago when he said, if you ever want to do a security check, throw a bunch of USBs in the parking lot and watch how fast they get plugged into your internet.
Yeah. Yep.
Point to it. But one thing, going back to this one bot thing, just to finish with this, and why I thought it's fun is that also one of the limitations of marketing is you can't shoehorn in so much of all the details in your marketing strategy. Marketing is supposed to be making people push the red button, bring them to the source of the information. So the bot also can kind of tailor answer some of the content that you may not have put into your market message simply because you don't want to overwhelm with 15 terms and conditions and this and this and this, but you want to have it available for them if they have particular interest associated with what it is you're offering. The bot can be a little bit more dynamic in that sense compared to you got to read paragraph 3 to get that information, you got to read paragraph 1 and 2 to start. So I think it gives a little flexibility of getting to the core of what it is that drove them there as well. It gives them a little bit more flexibility of finding the content. So that's why I'm excited about that.
And listen, Lauren, if they have someone like you on retainer, like these are great ideas, but it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic.
And never put it before the primary stuff. Never before. Always block and tackle stuff. Guest experience, quality of product, good service, good staff that you're doing work with that are invested and feel like they're a part of the team, not disconnected and not caring. Those are the fundamentals. And then you get into the fundamentals of marketing. Make sure your brand voice is out there. Make sure your presence of mind of the market is in there. And then when you start branching out, you start getting into the tertiary stuff, then you start refining those relationships with stuff like this.
And actually, for the show, as Lauren's booking agent on here, his retainer for this show only. Okay, for the next 2 hours, lines are open. Normally $50,000 a month. We are cutting off 20%. It is $40,000 a month.
No. You buy now. You get a second set of Ginsu knives for free.
Just call 867-5309. That's it. Operators are standing by.
Standing by. Our bots are standing by.
and Lauren, I get the 15%, right? So
since we're off script, surprise. Did either of you watch Apple's keynote for their new phone?
No.
Pieces.
Okay, so there was a demo. There was a demo of a piece of AR software. So it's actually not about Apple. It's about this AR software.
Apple still makes phones, really?
Yeah.
No idea.
Well, they're really not phones. They're kind of small,
bigger phones now.
Actually, my daughter, my 20-year-old daughter, and my 27-year-old daughter both hate their iPhone X's.
Really?
They do, and it's been discontinued. Yeah.
Huh?
They don't like the user interface, so they actually wanted to go back to.
Is it the home button? Losing the home button?
Losing the home button was it, and then just some of the swipe features and things, they just didn't like it.
Yeah. So, anyways, this AR software, which was called HomeCourt, was really slick. Hold your phone up, watching someone shooting a basketball as they're practicing, and in real time, it's recording stats on your posture, your shooting speed, in real time, like from a phone. So let's think through that. Why is that cool? Well, you got to go watch the demo of it to see truly what it's understanding, because what it's understanding is some very specific movements, micro movements even, and how they affect certain aspects of your overall success. So if we blow that out to what could that be? Well, that could actually mean you could start pointing cameras at spaces in your hotel, for example, and understand over a time period how many lost opportunities for additional revenue are you experiencing. Like, this is instantly where my head went. And this is why I've always thought AR is really interesting, is you could actually watch and through a person's behavior understand that they're wanting something. Well, what are they wanting? You can actually figure out what they want by just how they're moving around a space and all of that. And whether or not you had it positioned correctly, what the effect of moving that merchandise or what have you has on overall conversion rate. Like, you're talking about starting to get into some really interesting analytical capabilities with how, if you can do this type of analysis on a phone, then that means this tech is not far away. Being able to look at a crowd and understand by person how they move in and out of thought processes.
No, it's true.
And again, the whole personalization, privacy versus security side is absolutely wonderful when used for good.
Yep.
Well, I can tell you what.
And not so good when somebody goes, "You're videoing me."
Runs well. First of all, you're always under surveillance. If you haven't accepted that yet, like, you're crazy. You're under surveillance in most public spaces of some type.
Traffic and everything else.
Yeah.
Let me add something. There was an app out a few years ago, actually, that we used in Australia, which was a lot of fun for Melbourne. There's a lot of graffiti art in Melbourne. And this app was really unique, and it doesn't exist anymore, or got bought and somebody else sends it away because it's dead. But what you could do is we recorded the artist that drew the graffiti beside the graffiti piece.
Oh, yeah, I've seen
stuff
like that before.
Yeah, and
I
you
think
dropped a
I think
pin.
it's gone away because you can actually just do that now.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
at the time it was just an app, but if you stood in a certain location, you could then hold the phone up and watch and listen to the artist describe their art virtually.
Robert,
And
did
of
you
course,
look at the home court? Did you look at it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
it's very
saw
cool.
what they
Yeah,
were doing.
Steve Nash. That's
Yeah.
Steve Nash's AI.
But the ideas of this, where we're waiting for the help me Obi-Wan, your only hope holograms, isn't necessarily the way it is make angle and go. It might be that you're looking virtually through
it's totally.
glasses or something like
I've
this.
always thought augmented reality is the future of how we will consume
Oh yeah.
content. And just look at mixed reality as that's been a big news thing on how the for this hurricane. Some of the stations have been using mixed reality to show you the effects of storm surge.
Water,
Right.
storm surge, and everything else.
Right. So I mean, it's actually really natural. It's a really natural way to change the interface, get away from monitors, and start, really thinking about how we consume information. And
It's
so
the whole heads-up display type thing, which was kind of what Google Glass was doing way too early.
I was
bleeding
on
it.
the Google Glass consumer group study. Yes.
Yeah.
It was not quite there yet. You need to get a little bit better. But the idea of a frameless phone, whoever's brand frameless phone, and using video, like, this is a much simpler design to bridge the shrinking of technology. And the pure fact is that new chip that they developed is a massive improvement in the amount of calculations per, I can't remember if it was per second or per minute, but it went up by such a huge amount. It went from I probably have the numbers wrong, but it went from 5,000 calculations per second to 5 million in this generation jump. And that's all focused on AR and AI.
Yeah.
And so, there's some cool stuff coming, I promise you.
Oh, yeah. Well, the other, but just to say that I have the drone that I have, and I fly it around and have lots of fun. Well, a friend of mine has the newer version of the Mavic Pro 2, and he had the goggle set, but I could sync it with mine just to see what it is to fly from point of view. And it's a world of difference, obviously. Huh?
Did you throw up?
Actually, it was easy. It was easier to fly it with it than it was for me looking at a distance, trying to look at a screen, where now I was actually the drone, so I could duck the stuff and move and everything else.
Mhm.
But it's crazy. Even the drone work, the Mavic Pro 2 has all these sensors around it. It could follow you under and around trees and stuff with leaves and stuff and not hit any of it. It's becoming self-aware of its environment. So you start adding that.
It's like a neural net processor, a learning computer.
But it's just crazy in that sense. But that point of view thing of being able to fly it as the drone made it a world difference. Because you watch these drone racers and you're like, how in the world do they do that? It's because they're seeing it from the perspective of the flight. They're not thinking about. They already know, But that perspective view is pretty.
So the other
how
interesting.
cool is it? How cool is it to have your drone concierge flying a foot above every guest's head, just answering their questions?
Hey, you know what? I actually had
the other cool thing that just was on this Apple event that I think has an effect to design and how you engage consumers is eBay's use of the face scanning technology and how they're actually using in some of their new designs. It's already released that based on your eye movements, things on the page will actually rotate and interact with you. Again, micro expressions, private expressions to manipulate user experience are much better investments than voice. Well, I'm just going to say
you saw that animation that I made you that used my iPhone 10 with the facial track, and I made that little penguin talk.
Mm-hmm.
Where if it did the 3D view, you need the ability to do that, to do animations and so forth. Now all of a sudden you start talking about augmented realities where you can put yourself in another room and it's following you as if you're standing there, kind of like the Avengers where they had the remote, the people in the room kind of thing. You can do that with the glasses and all. But that is to the point. But I think you brought up something interesting when you were telling me when you were excited about was the watch. I mean, it is
the first FDA approved wearable consumer device.
Oh, yeah. And it's who was it? They came back and basically said, yeah, we've been doing that for 7 years already. Yeah, because Apple did kind of hey, look what we're doing.
Oh, the electrocardiogram.
The the ECG one. I can't remember who made the.
Yeah, but
it was Vin Cadrota, who used to be the Google the Google mobile guy, right?
Yep.
Left Google, started this thing up, and it was pretty funny. But
here's the
little
thing.
snarky tweets.
The big difference is, listen, devices that could do electrocardiogram from a consumer standpoint have always existed. They've always been kind of crappy.
Yeah. Oh
Apple
no, this one
actually took it through FDA approval, which actually means when you look at it, you can generally trust that it's close. It's much closer than previous devices. So that mixed with the AI that they have behind it, now they're going to be able to tell people when they're showing symptoms of AFib, which is one of the most common, misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed heart conditions that actually lead to heart failure. It's these types of things and I like to mention this stuff because, I think I kind of poo-poo too much on futurism. But this is the stuff I look at to try and understand where consumer behavior is going to go. If you're really trying to understand, you need to be looking at the things that we interface with today. How are they changing? What are they experimenting in? And then what could that mean? What could life be like with that? That doesn't mean tomorrow. But if the first generation is convincing, like this home court, what could you do with that?
Look at you go back to the check-in with the hospitality thing, and we know that RFID is around, and our industry is slow to. That's an expensive proposition to change out door locks and so forth, especially with the progression of technology. As soon as you replace it with one thing, something newer is coming along. But there's a stability to some of these things where now you're talking about a wearable. It used to be alien that at first when you went to your car, you still had to use your key, but there had to be a sensor in the key for it to be combined so that you just didn't have a key to start the car. Now you don't even get a key. You get a fob. That's it. There is no key.
How about this? Home court. I'll give you an exact example of how to take that software and apply it to hotels. So I'm going to guess, I've never worked in a hotel, so full disclosure there, but I'm going to guess that housekeeping staff and maintenance staff are probably a drag on workers' comp because of repetitive injury type stuff. Take home court, hold it up to a housekeeper doing her duties and have it actually
Absolutely.
record when her posture went to a position that would, after repetitive, task, would actually lead to a back injury or carpal tunnel.
Banquet houseman, things like all those.
And
all those guys, yeah.
also focus on inefficiency and movement. So if you could actually train your staff to become aware of where they're being inefficient, which is causing them to get tired faster, or things like that. Like, that's a direct application of this, what they're using to improve your basketball game in real employment, where you could actually cut down on workers' comps claims, and you could actually make it to where your staff have more energy throughout the day.
Well, you make a really good point to that, because what happens, and I know this to be true, take the banquet people you just referred to, Robert. They twitch their back a little bit, so now they're lifting a little bit more insecurely. That they're not lifting with their legs as much. They still got to do their job because they still want their paycheck. But they're beginning to exacerbate their issue.
Well, it's like the athlete who's still kind of trying to just play through the injury, right?
Right. Where you can catch it and be like, nope, I'm sorry, Tom, you're going to have to take off lifting duty right now. You're just going to be able to push things around. We're not having you lift anything. Because you're only going to be worse what you do. No, it's a great example of using the technology potentiality of it by far. But technology, Anyway, topics, Mr. Robert. You had a few more than just those.
I love the rut row. If we want to do the
No, we can't do the rut row until last. Rut row's got to be last.
I'm not going to stay till last, because who knows how long we're going to talk for. I mean, that could be at 3 o'clock.
That I know. That's what keeps the people riveted on the edge of their seat.
The thousands.
This is a whole, it's the whole design of the show, the whole structure where people think there's no planning or anything, but they know the rut row's at the end, right?
We'll do the rut row around 1 o'clock. How's that? Because I think all of us have to.
Well, the rut row. It's kind of like, when's the hurricane coming on shore? What's the path? We've set that standard.
Yeah.
How much damage will be?
How much damage will happen between when it's reported and when it occurs is up to nature.
Right. By the way, Robert,
I wanted to make one point. I posted, because I'm doing these on Facebook with all the links. The great How Guys Will Use Google Glass.
Yes.
Video, which is one of the greatest videos ever made. Anyway,
for those who don't get your email though, Robert, I gotta give you a compliment. You have a wicked sharp sense of humor. I love when you send out the emails. So where you were dogging on Stuart about why would he pick a beachside place to stay. I mean, I hope that the digital board.
The power going out. I think the power going out on his thing here is
it's testament to that.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I went with number 3. Yeah, we had 3 theories for why Stuart went to a beach, evacuated his home in Myrtle Beach, which is a good, smart thing to do, but then went to a beachfront hotel in Myrtle Beach. So there were three theories. One was because he's British, there was a language barrier. He didn't understand evacuation. He thought it meant something else, which happens with the Brits. Number 2 was that he is a really smart guy. He figures he's going to stay where the first responders are, so he will get rescued first. So when something bad happens, he will be there with them. And number 3 is he just has a real problem evaluating different factors when making a decision. I don't know, and just is really bad at decision making. So, but we wish him well and hope that.
Do we want to?
I was very happy to see him online, and now with his sudden departure, I'm a little bit more concerned. So.
And we're Rogue Wave. Hey, do you want to throw Google in? Google has made some changes. You didn't highlight all of them. You brought in the Tourbird one, but I mean, Google's made some pretty heavy changes recently, and there's some stuff.
Well, yes, they have. And Lauren, if they were on lists in past weeks, and I do have a policy of never repeating if it was posted as a. I don't. We don't go back. We're like sharks. We can only swim forward on this show, right?
Or like a cow. Can only go upgrade, not downgrade.
Or yeah. I was going to say, or like a manatee, we just float around, so just wherever the current drags us. So, anyway, Touring Bird. They now have 25,000 experiences in only 20 cities.
Yep.
And let me tell you, I'm sure when they picked those cities, they were pretty careful on, hey, we need doing 1 or 2 as a beta. That's not very good, but let's do 20. Here are the most important ones. Let's have depth on it. Google has a little bit different approach to a minimum viable product versus some of the other startups or whatever who
They
may
don't need to
start
make money off of it for a long time.
I know, yeah. Which is they can go play, but again, they kill stuff mercilessly. I mean, they just wiped out Inbox, which was a great, simple email thing. It was basically a front end for Gmail, and everybody I know who used it loved it, and they just killed it.
Than the web interface.
Absolutely, yeah, and better than the Gmail app as well.
Yeah.
And it's gone,
Yeah.
and you go. Not really an explanation why. It's just going and
Just not into it, man.
Yeah. Whoever pushed for it and expended the political capital and got done, maybe left to do their own startup. I don't know.
To actually build a product like that.
But
so
anyway,
so Google moving into this space. First of all, I mean, they're about to just like kill a bunch of startups because I mean the space has been hot for probably the last 3 years in startups into hospitality, focusing on this
for
business.
Experience for this stuff, and everybody's been getting $50 million investments. I mean, that has been kind of maybe 30, maybe 80. There's a range in there, but the number of guys who are starting up where it's going to be ugly.
Like anyone who was, trying to deal with group pay and stuff like that, one of the giants have come in. Instantly, they'll have more engagement than you do just because of the massive ecosystem that they have. But what I actually think really got Google looking at this is, I don't know if you guys remember, I told you that DMOs are starting to take control of Google in their area for their market, and Google set up a pretty substantial program for that. Well, if you think about the timing, now all of a sudden they have an entity in a city that's a government entity, so it's not likely to go away, that has seen purpose in putting better content in Google. So Google's not going to have to go chase these small businesses and hold their hands. They now have this government entity that's going to do it.
Who has no profit motive, or at least margin motive, right? Because their revenue stream is off it. They want to employ the local, citizens, and they want to generate revenues from people who are not their local citizenry, right? In terms of taxes from people coming from outside. So it's the perfect thing. Yep.
Yeah. So, which instantly says to me, if they get strong DMO adoption in this, this is going to fundamentally kind of kill a lot of those startups or cause a lot of them to have to pivot hard.
Right. Yeah. And Airbnb is doing the same thing too. Right. Airbnb has their.
Yeah, but which would you rather put your money behind? Airbnb,
oh no, I know.
Google's.
Oh no, but Airbnb is doing the same thing for a lot of the same reasons. Yeah, which again crowds the market even more. Right.
I would take this as for anybody that's looking at this argument. I mean, if you look at Touringbird, it's really nicely done. The segmentation of what to be interested in, the navigation is very easy. It's easy to explore. It's easy to because everything that they have in there is cross-referenced to other tags associated with it. Absolutely. It's identically what you would want to do. That everything's cross-references to what it also is related to. But if you want to take any lesson out of this in the process of use it, link to it. If you're in those markets, take it and link this.
And just understand, if it works well, it's going to cost you money at some point. So let's not try and drive an entire relationship base into it, because you'll be complaining when it's a $1.85 per touch or something. Which
who did? I mean, to us? Who tainted us like that? Facebook. Maybe they went over and made us go over and put all of our audiences on it, and then charged us to get access.
TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them. All of them have done the pattern of performance. Get you hooked and then charge you for it later.
When something is free, that means you're the product.
And they're looking at going, it's easier than selling crack to school kids. Exactly.
Now, what is interesting about it, so again, let's look at the futurism aspect of this, is Google stepping into this space is going to cause a sophistication to develop amongst those businesses, which is really interesting. If those businesses start becoming sophisticated participants in their market, and tying together the consumer experience, that actually can lead to some interesting opportunities.
Oh yeah. Well, but even let's just strip away even the future aspect. What I thought in this article that they nailed it was Turing Bird was created to solve 4 major pain points. Okay, 1, the amount of time it takes travelers to research across online and offline information sources. This doesn't just have to apply to experiences and things like that. You go, let's just look at a hotel search, right, or a vacation search or something like that. So number 1, how much time they're researching. 2, the difficulty of finding one-of-a-kind experiences. 3, the difficulty of finding free activities. And 4, the difficulty of finding activities that match a user's interests. I mean, okay, maybe instead of free activities, you go one of a kind, unique, something that's cool and unique, something that has good value, right? The pricing's right, and matching it to your interests. That's the whole thing. That is really what almost every one of these inspiration, research, planning, platforms should be doing that should result in a booking. And yeah, Google, and this, they didn't even talk about how this ties in with trips, because again, if you've sold your soul to the Google ecosystem the way I have, it goes and scans your Gmail, and again, I do this a lot just to see, what's Google up to. Might as well just give away all my stuff and see what they're doing with it. But, you get an email in with a trip, and it will say, hey, do you need you need a hotel with that? What are you doing? Here are things. And all of a sudden it's in your little trips app. Automatically, you didn't have to do anything. Very simple. And here are little itineraries that you might like for Midtown Manhattan, or if you like museums, or if you like food or whatever, different things. And this just ties dead into that initiative. And so what do? They get all this stuff and then create a platform where all the providers of these services can then bid on stuff to get exposure to increasingly specific behavioral patterns, which are tracked and then considered through Google's own AI to go surface up, here's a good match of product X to buyer Y. So it's powerful, folks.
All right, let's hit the rut row because it's almost 1:00.
Oh,
He wants the front row.
Everyone loves the rut row. Let me just wait. I thought there was. Ed, I threw one of these things in here specifically for you, which was the. Where is it? It was the Italian court with the fake TripAdvisor reviews.
Oh, I know. I love that one, but
I know that. So that
I don't
was
know if there's
almost,
much conversation there. I think it's funny, and I think it's.
There's not, but an idiot, basically someone who was really doing superficial, bad quality, sell your reviews, got nailed by an Italian court. The amazing thing is, I wrote a 4 or 5 part series for T News in 2011 on this, fake news sock puppet account sort of issue. They've gotten one person now who's actually been caught and sentenced, which is actually a painfully poor rate of conversion, of really being able to find these folks and figure out who they are, what they're doing, and get them off the platform, which is a very tough thing for TripAdvisor to do. But yes, they finally got one conviction, so good for them.
In Italy.
In Italy, yes.
One of the smaller economies that they could have tried to get that done in.
Yeah, they could have hit. The Caribbean is a pretty robust spot for this sort of activity, and has been for a decade. So,
right.
Anyway, okay, yeah. So the rut row this week is food influencers are livid after getting tricked by a PR firm. Oh my God. So here's a PR firm got together with a relatively famous restaurateur or chef and a consumer packaged goods company to try to do something that would be viral and fun and that sort of thing, and kind of blew up on them a little bit. Unless you consider that, there's no such thing as bad PR.
Well, there's no such thing as bad PR. I mean, I do have to say that this restaurant's now been mentioned multiple times, and anyone who reads the article is going to see one key element, which is the food that was stored using Glad press and seal is pretty much the food they normally store doing Glad press and seal. And this whole idea, as I was reading it before I got to the punchline of, oh, by the way, this isn't a big deal. These people are just babies. I mean, that was my takeaway on this prima donna babies. Was, these people were going on and on about the idea of old food. Right. And I every step along the way as I'm listening to these influencers, which, by the way, they're this way because we made them this way.
Exactly.
Okay? We gave them such a sense of self-importance and worth for really worthless activity that they're so offended by a restaurant doing what was a very clever campaign that had absolutely no risk in it. And it's not unheard of. These types of things have been done before constantly. I mean, as I was reading, I thought of many commercials where it was, here's real live consumers reacting to the fact that we switched their Coke for Pepsi. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened here. And these food influencers were so put off by it and so offended. And it was, and I'm sure you're going to see lawsuits for hurt feelings and stuff. But here's the really troubling aspect of it, was they were offended by the fact that some of that food was 3 days old.
Right.
But they didn't even know what aspect of the food was 3 days old. And I have news for you. Do you know how long it takes for something to get from wherever it's plucked?
The whole
from
supply,
like, I mean, if you actually understood how old food is by the time it hits a grocery store, you'd go 3 days. What's the big deal?
Oh, or even the fish that you're eating that was described as fish A is really that fish, right?
Right. Like,
it's probably tilapia.
Chilean sea bass? You're not getting Chilean sea bass at $12.99. I'm sorry.
No. And one of my favorite trivia things is the Chilean sea bass, which was formerly called the tile fish, which nobody would eat.
No one would eat.
As soon as they changed it to Chilean sea bass, everybody wanted that.
Yep. Well, it's a superfood.
I think if they express their outrage, if they truly express their outrage that they're eating potentially threatening product, and tie that to our way of handling homeless people that are being handed expired product.
Thank you. I know.
It's like
3 days old. By the way, 3 days old. Like it was actually known how old this product was. 3 days, and it was served to them by a restaurant that is, inspected by the Food and Health Administration of that area to make sure that they're handling food correctly. I mean, guys,
what
this was, they weren't handling the message. Their message was taken from them, that they weren't in control of the message, that they were brought into an environment that they weren't in control of, used for something that they weren't there knowingly supporting. That's their offense to them, to their mind. The fact that there was no food risk, there was no issue about food age or anything else. It's the acknowledgement that they weren't in control of the situation, where they get to walk around and go, oh, I give it 4.2 stars because the tilapia or the fish had a certain tang to it I didn't like. That got taken away from them. The conversation was all about the experience being controlled by this display of usage.
Because it does kind of uncover that their sense of self-importance is so misplaced. Like, in the grand scheme of the economy, they're not important, and that offends them.
Yes.
And to that end, go ahead.
Well, no. What I want to do is talk about some of the things that were done by and setting this thing up that when you do these sorts of campaigns, you really have to look at the unintended consequences, right? I mean, you really need to figure out, is there a downside on these things,
Right.
and not kind of get caught up with this.
There is a
cute
negative
and fun and all that.
KPI to everything you do.
There is. No, there is. There
Yeah.
is. And you need to look at it. Or even, how will a competitor react? And are you going and, all of a sudden getting something where, you've poked the beast and you're going to wind up coming back and paying for it, and it winds up being a net negative, right? I mean, that's,
Right.
you've got to look at all these
Or
different
can you
outcomes.
take the net negative, like the White Dog Cafe in Ireland that went to war with that influencer and turned it into
Oh,
a massive campaign? Like, you could also just like really lean into it and poke at the fact that.
Well, there's a couple of things to this. To your point is that, and for everyone to be mindful, when you send out an email, you still get people that unsubscribe. You still burn a list. You still lose.
Well, even
activity.
worse, the people who don't unsubscribe but are now ignoring you because your email
Right.
is
And it goes to the retargeting, the excessive redundancy of using retargeting too much. The message turns into white noise. The call that they don't want to take anymore, because you do, no matter how well intended your campaigns are, you still have a cost factor of lifetime value of a guest that got lost. With this, I would also say the lesson caveat from this is, when you deal with influencers, define your relationship with that influencer. When we
they kind of did.
They
did
actually
that
they
part.
defined it brilliantly, because
Right.
they
No, I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying this is a lesson.
They disclosed that the restaurant was going to be showing off a new food preservation method for them.
Right. Okay. But okay, now, and not that I'm really defending these influencers, because I completely agree about the baby factor and the whining and things like that. Because again, they were not only getting a free meal, they were being paid $300 to show up,
and $1,000 if they were,
and $1,000 if their content. So with that kind of carrot on the stick, it's like, I'm going to be smiling and chewing and licking my chops, sort of thing, right? Doing this. So they've this is architected as this is going to be a really good, this is on rails and everybody's going to have a great time and they're going to love it. But the way they presented it to these guys, and Giant's a pretty well-known restaurant. The guy was the Thrillist Chef of the Year, Best New Chef, all that stuff, James Beard Award-winning finalist. They announced this as they were going to present a new menu, right? Called Three Moons. So it wasn't, I don't think they really, but I don't think this was really a new menu that the restaurant came up with, right?
Well, we couldn't get to that because the people who were so offended by it didn't even go in.
Well, no, I think it was set up a little bit superficially. And again, they used a consumer package. This is the old Folger Ed isn't old enough.
Freeze-dried coffee.
Using freeze-dried coffee in the great restaurant and kind of doing that. Like, how do you like the coffee? Oh, it's delicious. It's Folgers Crystals, right?
But you also see the same blowback. When people go over and find out that they were fooled. Like, if you give them a wine that says this is our finest wine, it's $100 a bottle, and they taste it. Oh, that was Mogan David. And after they've been talking about its bouquet and everything, they're embarrassed because they truly aren't knowledgeable at the level they feel that they know more than what they do. This is part of their
And what you can do is you can do that by having a really great bottle of wine, and so you say, here's the difference, or which one's better. You can start doing some things like that. So they did say that, but they said the Three Moons menu. I don't think there was really a menu, right, that they made that was special for these guys or anything like that. Interesting preservation, and it was things like some potatoes and some other.
It was potatoes
and chives or something like that. I can't remember.
And something else, which yes, like
they're all storing anyway. Yeah.
Right. That's why they're going to say, these potatoes must be picked on the northern slope of the East Mountain on the northern Himalayas, because they're going to make up stuff just like any person that thinks they know about wine. Oh, it has a wonderful, it's fruity but complex. It's simple but earthy. I mean, it's like, what? Where? It's got peach overtone. What the hell is all that? After the second glass, as long as it's giving you a buzz, what do you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so again, this was a marketing campaign with Glad, right, and stuff like that. So they didn't really like that.
But
they
again,
also
going back to the influencer control,
they got free drinks too.
Yeah, they have free drinks. But they go back to the influencer definitions. Is this maturation of relationships where influencers walk around going, you need to give me a free room if I want to say good stuff about you. There's that out in the market. There's influencers now that are overcharging for their experiences without definition of what they're giving you. These people you need to ignore those people because you're in control of the relationship with the influencer. When you're going to bring an influencer in because it's a persona of an audience that you're looking to target, you define the productivity that they're developing. You define what it is you're asking specifically for them to attain, what images you want to make sure get included and featured and so forth. It's their job to translate that request into their audience's interest.
Right.
That's
Yes,
their
it
job.
is.
So
But-
to understand,
If you're
like,
also interested, if you're introducing a sponsored consumer packaged goods product that these people don't know about and may be inconsistent with their branding, you're throwing in a little wrinkle there, which is higher risk, right? Because it's almost like, hey, we've led you to this. We're going to send you to a luxury hotel and let you sleep over, but you're going to be blindfolded or something like. How was it? Hey, you weren't at the Ritz-Carlton. You were at the Motel 6, and we've done this thing with Sealy Posturepedic, right?
Airfresh already
People
did
will
that
go,
with
"I
walking
don't
people
want-"
into a garbage pile and saying it
Right.
smelled clean.
Right. So
Right, yeah, all that sort of stuff. Those influencers may not want.
So
Their
an
brand to be
influencer,
correct,
a
right.
good influencer is nothing more than the modern day PR firm who builds very quality content and has a curated audience. That's
Right.
it. Like,
Yes.
if you can't see that clearly, if you can't see that the person you're talking to is going to craft content that you otherwise could not create yourself
Right.
and feed it to an audience that you otherwise would have difficulty reaching, then you're not
Yeah.
talking to the right person. They're not a legitimate business. Right?
Yeah.
Because I've met some influencers that blow me away, and they remind me of people I know that run really good PR firms or really good marketing firms. And
Yeah.
if you actually look, a lot of those people they left a marketing job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they really are
Yeah.
the modern, the good ones, the
Oh, yeah.
legitimate
Yeah.
ones are modern PR firms.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone else is someone who just thinks they're important because they've posted a million selfies of themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think
And-
the warning thing is the guests were served fresh smoked ribs and a freshly made shaved zucchini salad, right? It's like, no, if you're going to do this and say there's a new menu, you should be launching the new, you have to do
You're
all the
hanging
things
up
you
on a
said you were going to
detail
do.
that I guarantee was
Oh,
not
no.
upset those people. That is
Oh, no.
not
Hey,
what upset those people.
well, no, but I've been involved, and again, sorry, I got to do the Four Seasons one, but at high end ones, when it's done properly, and you start working with folks who are really top PR people. Four Seasons did this back in the late 80s, right? And they invited in New York City, brought in, I mean, we're talking all the top food editors, right? Who were, the folks, New York Times, Washington Post, all these people in to experience a new menu, right? Or actually, they didn't even tell them why, right? They said, we're going to be doing something, have lunch, and there's going to be an announcement, right? And they knew it was kind of food and beverage related, but they didn't really know. I think they had business writers too.
All right.
It was business writers.
Do you know the
but
story
what?
or don't you know the story?
No, I
Robert?
do. No, well, it's a long time. It's a long time ago, and I'm elderly. So,
There was a
and,
meeting in Four Seasons.
Are you even sure it was Four Seasons and not a
and
Cornell class?
I'm embellishing it to make it a better story. So all that happening simultaneously is
Dogs
really
and
hard.
cats.
No, anyway, okay. No, it was food writers and business writers, right? So they bring them in, and there were 120 people, right? And so everybody's waiting for the announcement, to come up, and they have, Izzy Sharp is the founder and CEO is there, and the announcement was that Four Seasons was presenting a new health-conscious, low-cal menu. And it was great because I can't remember how many calories it was. It was not very many, right? And he said, and by the way, you just ate just ate for lunch was an example of the menu. That what you just ate, which was delicious, was only whatever 400 calories or something like that. And people were blown away. I mean, that's how you do it.
God damn it! I was expecting 1,000 calories.
No, but that was very, very. They got.
Is this wrapped in Glad? Is this a Glad wrap thing?
I am a
Well, no.
food influencer.
But they came out with, well, those guys are. Hey, and let me tell you, if you think these food influencers who are amateurs generally doing this stuff versus the real pros, like the guy who's the restaurant critic for the New York Times,
Right.
they get their feelings hurt really easy.
Oh yeah.
Right?
No, no.
They're
And
seated at the wrong
positive
table.
surprise
Oh, yeah.
compared to a potential negative surprise.
Right,
And to
exactly.
your-
They
that
have
creates risk
everything worked up where there's all these people are going to unless the food was crap, which they knew it wasn't, right? Or
Right.
somebody got sick.
I'm
or something from the
ultimately
food.
though, I'm with you on the 100% thing. If I'm getting paid $300 to show for a free meal and $1,000 if I liked it, I'm smiling. I'm going to taste it more positively. I'm going to be, and if you throw me a negative curve, like, and this was wrapped in cellophane for 3 days, okay, tasted good to me. Where's my $1,000 check?
No. My point is, if they had framed this that restaurant was really doing a new menu that happened to be called and it had nothing to do with Glad, right? If they actually were announcing a new menu,
But Robert, it
they
doesn't
could have
state
solved all
that it wasn't a new menu either.
They said they got some ribs and shaved zucchini salad. That's not a new menu.
How do
Right?
have you eaten at this restaurant? Is ribs and zucchini?
I've worked in
menu?
food and beverage. A new menu is here's a new thing where there are many items you can choose from.
No,
and things.
I'll give
A
them
new
the token
menu
that-
would be, here's something we don't normally serve.
I'll agree that there's a veneer to this that may not have been deep wood.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the idea of it is they went off on the wrong tangent because they lost control of the message.
The PR, and the note should be when you're dealing with all these influencers, you don't have full control of the message. Even though they did a good job, the legal guys did a good job, probably all these things, but the PR firm
Because
screwed
they're
up
not-
by.
Well, and not just that, because you're dealing, in this case, I'm willing to guarantee these aren't real influencers. These are the ones that we all kind of joke about. You're not dealing with a legitimate business who cares about the repercussion of their behavior long term.
Right.
Their outrage adds to their.
And their outrage adds to their celebrity for calling out the big restaurant wronging them and doing right, because again, a lot of these guys aren't just the positive. I mean, you try to filter out those people. These people will, have a following, will say good things, but again, you got to be careful with this stuff if you don't have full control.
Even looking at what Nike has done, I mean, to bring this around to the fact that we had the curate thing with it. What did Nike do? If this was a calculated maneuver. They got everybody talking about Nike the week before football started.
Well, not just that.
Absolutely.
Nike showed masterfully the difference between who their customer is and who their investor is, because Nike sales went through the roof. Like, I wish I would have known ahead of time that they were going to do something with Colin Kaepernick, because I would have shorted the stock and then bought a 10-day option for an upswing.
Exactly.
Because, man, they upset Wall Street, which, by the way, Wall Street investors, easiest people to upset in the world.
Talk about babies who get their feelings hurt
biggest
really.
babies
Those analysts
have ever existed. So Nike knows who their customer is, and their customer, a large amount of their customer identifies with Colin Kaepernick's plight. Which, say what you will about his plight, he's not the first one. Tim Tebow fell same type of plight, different end of the equation, same thing
Absolutely.
though. Tim Tebow does not play football because Tim Tebow decided to stand for something that he personally believed in. Difference is Tim Tebow didn't complain about it. That's the difference in polarizing situation here. However, you know what? If Colin Kaepernick makes a huge living off of this decision, and never plays football again, then you know what? He stood for something that he cared deeply about.
Mm-hmm.
He took the huge risk of he may never play professional football again, but he's also smart enough. He's now monetizing it on the other end. So good for Colin Kaepernick.
Well, and in fairness to Kaepernick, he listened to some guys. I can't remember the name of the guy on the team who was a veteran, who basically said, wait a second, because originally he was sitting down, right? Go, wait a second, that's disrespectful. And they kind of worked out together. No, maybe taking a knee is the best way to do it, where you're still being respectful and that sort of thing, but you're making your point publicly, right?
Right.
And the NFL has a problem. I mean, they've got
completely mishandled this thing.
Right.
The fact we're still talking about it today shows
Absolutely.
how much they mishandled this thing, and to the point to where even the NBA was able to cast some shade on the NFL about it, saying that they don't need to have a rule like that, even though the NBA has had a rule like that since like 1970 about standing during
ever since and I remember the '68 Olympics with the guys, with the Black Power fist, which was a really powerful moment. I mean,
but see, here's the thing: in the Olympics, I don't find it at all offensive because there's a political aspect to the Olympics. Sure. My problem with any of these people who are forcing me to have to listen to their political view is they're misunderstanding the nature of our relationship. I pay you to do the thing you do. I don't pay you to tell me what you think about stuff. If you want to do it outside of the arrangement that we have, it's why I don't like U2. It's why I don't like Kanye West. It's why I have like a mile-long list of people who have misunderstood the relationship and the dynamic of the relationship. I pay you to be funny. I pay you to be a singer.
Modern pop culture and these celebrities, it's the whole package of everything they do in their life. Harvey Weinstein shouldn't be. You can do what you can, when you're not on the clock, producing movies, sort of thing, right? It's all now everything's mixed
there's repercussion to it now, which is nice. Like it really is nice. They've all, and listen, if it was their decision, if it was something they felt so important that they had to risk their current version of livelihood to get it across, then good for you. I respect the people who have that level of conviction.
Right.
However,
and with Kaepernick, I have no problem with him.
No, I don't even care.
Doing that.
The only thing I care about is, like, please, for the love of God, can I get football without this garbage? Like, can I go to a concert without hearing about something? It's the same thing like on the Weather Channel. I am a huge advocate for being good to animals, right? However, the second the commercial for like mistreating animals come on, I change the channel. Just understand, like, that is the dynamic of the of who you're serving. You're serving people that, listen, we have to deal with it enough. I mean, it's bad enough this show brings up politics constantly, but I still
Speaking of which, we're at that time. All of us
the last point brought to you by TimPeter.com.
Yes, we missed Tim. We missed.
But I will say, I do respect the heck out of the guy because he really doubled down, and like you said, he actually tried to do his research to not have it be like really bad. But that's the risk you take when you're going to make a statement in an area that people may not take well. And by the way, if you haven't learned from recent everything that's happening in the United States, the majority of the people in the United States are mob mentality.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's tribal. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's tapped into kind of these tribal elements of vilify the other person and not
no
go.
gray. No gray area. There's no Lauren Gray. It's all Robert or Ed.
Just to comment on one thing that I think is very interesting politically, because these political campaigns are marketing campaigns, right? They use all the same techniques. It's all branding. It is all communications. It is all, it is all product sales where the product is come in and buy on this date. We only want you to do one thing on one day, please. Buy our product at that one time, and you don't have to do anything else. But Beto O'Rourke, since I live in Texas, very interesting brand. I mean, regardless of the politics, right? The branding, the approach. He was on Colbert a couple nights ago. He was talking about working on legislation with John Cornyn, who normally in the tribal thing would be like burn the Republicans. He's the senior senator, right? Cruz is the junior senator who O'Rourke is going against. But he was talking about, we were working on legislation for immigration. That's what we should be doing. And numbers of times he said, it doesn't matter your political party. Let's get back to Paul. You go, this guy is really smart, right? Because he's going against the current of the struggle. Well, it may not work,
paying
right?
attention to the political wins, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And let's face it, he's running against Ted Cruz. Like, his message, I don't murder children.
I'm not.
Hi.
I'm not the. Oh wait, which killer was it?
Mike Job? Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. And this political segment of
No, but I think there are tremendous things that if you look at, hotels want to differentiate themselves, right?
Yeah.
They want to have a message that resonates.
Understanding the nuance and
All of
also
that-
understanding the potentially negative effects of certain moves.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because he's not taking political PAC monies. That may be? Who knows? Cruz wins by 1/100%. Somebody on his advisory team's going, damn it, we should have taken that one thing. They could have done this advertising in this one place and we would have won, right?
Yep.
But again, that's okay. And you go,
Hey.
and I think that's where things are going. What does your brand stand for, right? So the Colin
God,
Kaepernick brand,
God,
stands for
I hope
something. And the
It's
NFL
already
and the
bad
NFL.
Like, I'm actually taking a position on things I don't actually care about to not do business with brands that go out of their way to tell me what they stand for. Like,
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
like I like Chick-fil-A. I will
Oh.
not spend money with Chick-fil-A because of their stance against whatever the correct word is for people who are not marrying people of the opposite sex.
LGBTQ.
Right. Okay. So I don't even care fundamentally about the issue. I care that Chick-fil-A
Is against it.
is actively against a part of our population.
Oh yeah. Oh
So,
no, but
like-
okay, Chick-fil-A is an outstanding example, and I will. Someone I know very, very well goes to Chick-fil-A, hates their politics, but loves their food so much they will look past that. And they-
Oh no, I know people who are directly hated by the company, and
yeah,
yet
exactly, and they love.
And I
Yes,
ask
they
them
love
every
the
time.
food.
I ask them every time, why do you go to Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
I like the chicken. Yes, but they hate you.
That's okay. The falafel fries are worth it.
Oh my gosh.
Was a direct quote
You know,
from someone
like
who told me
Walmart,
the waffle fries are worth
You know,
it.
if businesses, I'm just going to say, like, if businesses are going to start taking a stance and like making whatever stance it is public, gosh, like, I'm not going to be able to shop anywhere. It's because even if I don't have a dog in a fight, I refuse to do business with a business that puts its like political, like, why do we have to have politics and everything?
Well, but it's a corporate social responsibility. Is people go,
It's
hey,
misapplied.
Walmart isn't doing
It's
whatever.
misapplied. Like,
Oh, I know. Oh no,
You
but
know.
you get that. But people go, "Hey, Walmart isn't doing it." Well, yeah, they're a freaking huge company who has a bunch of shareholders who want to maximize their profits, and part of that is how do they get more, profitability out of their workforce, right? Which
Well,
there
the
are
trick
different
is
ways to do
underemploy them so that they have to go on government aid, and now you have a government subsidized employee program. That was
Exactly.
Walmart's business model from very early.
absolutely,
Crush the small business.
Yep.
Make those people who were really good at running small businesses come and work for you for a fraction of what
Yep.
they need to survive, and the government will pick up the bill.
right. And for people who go, "Wow, they shouldn't go there," they go, "Yeah, but their prices are cheap." So yeah, I go. So yeah, it's interesting times of
Yeah.
because in some cases, how does your market does your market care or not? May or may not be fine, but then if something goes wrong,
Right.
all of a sudden you may have to live with this where all those indifferent people suddenly care and are now militant, and you've got people,
I think what we've learned out of this is that if we get invited to a dinner that we're willing to be paid for, and somebody asks us what we think of it tastes, just say tastes fine.
Nothing
good.
special.
no.
Amazing.
If you're
Oh,
going
you
to
wrapped
say,
it with Glad Wrap? You know what my question would have been? What did you wrap it with before?
Yeah.
Is this did it usually die by this point, or are we still talking
Right.
about safe? Yeah. No, I again, it goes back to, and this is always, and this is a lesson in our social engagement, and to your point, Ed, as an industry for our hotels, not to get caught up into the conversations as to what the business entity. I think one of the worst mistakes that we have ever made is to treat business entities as if they're people. They're businesses. To your point, they are there to functions for something, but that doesn't mean that they should have a political point of view to this or an aspect of that. Now, if they want to make sure they only do free caught tuna because netted tuna kills that, I'm good with them on understanding that they're trying to preserve some sort of but to tell me that they're pro this or negative this, not into it.
And oh, by
But-
the way, if your business is going to actively hate anyone, like, that's
Yeah.
just a bad idea to put out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no reason to isolate. Target people that you think your product is tailored to. Like if I'm looking for the Birkenstock millennials that want to tree hug and stay in my hotel because I'm in Portland,
Millennials
then
don't
that's
wear
my
Birkenstocks.
They don't. Oh well, see,
Oh, yeah, they
bad
do.
targeting.
That was
It's a-
90.
anyway,
That was
the point
90s
of- the point of
grunge.
Oh no.
Social-
Millennials,
it back?
millennials. Yeah, they like them. Yeah, they're back.
They're
Okay,
back
so-
again.
The social. So
You're
social
getting old,
is
Ed.
about-
You're getting old. You're losing touch.
Yeah, you see, yep. But social is about your product and your value proposition of your product to an audience. It isn't about the political justification of your existence. So
Right.
that in your marketing messages, that in your product, that in your delivery,
And by the
that's
way,
the core element
if
to
you
your
want to get
process.
political, why don't you try getting political to the like we're trying to take people that for some reason other people hate and make them do better. Like that's a good like if you have to do it, maybe
Yeah,
do
like I said,
that.
I don't want to drive us back into the political forum, but my argument to the process of the Kaepernicks and so forth of the world and this mutuality of protesting while the camera's on you, what did you do when the camera wasn't on you? Did you
Thank
continue that message?
Right.
Because if
Yeah.
you
And he
truly
did.
continued that
He
message
did.
without
To
the
be
camera,
fair,
I
he
believe-
did, but most of the other players in the NFL didn't have a word to say about it in the offseason at all.
No, but there is a rap sheet of people that got arrested or DUI'd or beat
Sure.
somebody or pulled a gun out. Those are the same people that are on the knee. But you're complaining about how you're being. To me, there's be true and be consistent is the issue that I have with that. So that
Or
being
be
said,
quiet.
or be quiet.
yeah,
And I still think
do it or
the
don't do
bottom-
it, but don't do it just because the camera's on you. Don't smile just because the camera. Like okay, the guy that's going for the Supreme Court didn't shake the guy's hand. He's all smiley when the camera's on him, but when he's walking away, he just turned into. Did you see his face? He looked downright freaking evil, like "get me out of here" kind of thing. When the guy's trying to shake his hand, he's like, it's like, wow, here I'm on camera. So that's my idea, and that goes with our marketing message. You can't sell what you don't, what you can't be consistent with as a product, as a hotel.
Be true to
You can't
yourself.
say we have beautiful things and so forth and so on, and then they show up and it's a dive. Okay, and you can't be, socially like you are all this sensitivity to your customers, and then you're in a 2.5 hour check-in wait. Can't do it.
Right.
Doesn't go together. So be
And you
if
can't control your message. Your message
Right.
may be going to your targeted audience, but it can go to other people who may not agree with that
Right.
sort of thing. So, if you open the white supremacist hotel, I guess you would have some sort of market where you could go do that, but may not be the best, the best idea to go.
Duke Hotel. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, we are at that time, and a little
It's
bit
also just
more
a bad
close-
idea because you're constantly like losing your sheets.
Oh,
Exactly. The chain
linen
shut
costs are just gonna be-
down because the linen costs were just killing us.
that's funny
Well
in a bad
done.
way.
That's very well done.
Oh,
That-
Tim,
that-
you know what?
George
Even if Tim was on the show with us today, he would have left about a half hour ago.
Exactly. No, and now we know why there are no white supremacist hotels. Right
The
there.
linen cost gets out of control. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! All right, gentlemen, thank you as always, and thank you so much for the time, Mr. Robert Lee, for the
God, I
list.
hope no one watches this episode.
Love for a half hour. That's all good stuff. Mr. Ed, if people want to discover more about Flip2 and what you politically believe in,
Actually,
where can
not
they-
very. You guys are friends with me on social. I'm not very political often.
No. you are motivated with
Oh.
a certain football team, though, or school, I
Yeah,
should say. in general.
so fair warning. If you don't want to watch me troll college football, do not follow me on Twitter during college football season. However, my
Wait,
Facebook
okay,
and LinkedIn
wait.
is awfully vanilla.
Well, hang on, Ed. Okay, hang on. You got a UCF grad who has suffered severe concussion problems running for governor of Florida. Do you vote for them?
It's difficult.
Formerly
I'm
maybe
not
a
gonna lie.
leading tackler, sack leader,
not
rushing
gonna lie.
yardage, completion
I'm actually-
percentage.
I'm actually going to vote. My vote for Florida governor is going to be based on who continues to support the economic development efforts and visit Florida. Now, if both parties are supporting those two things, then I will move to the protecting of the environment because it's a bit of an issue. Then after that, if they're both equal, then I'll kind of look at what's the next issue I care about.
How
Um,
closely aligned they are to UCF. I think he's still
if all
downplaying.
things
I
being
think that
equal,
might go above.
if all things
above
being
the environment.
equal, I'm gonna say, yeah, I would probably vote for that person. I mean, let's be honest. People make much bigger decisions with much less reason. Than
Information.
I'm at
What
least.
color ties he wearing? Oh, I like that color. Let's vote for them. Yeah.
I'm caring about. Now, actually, I'm going to be honest. Visit Florida is doing a horrible job at understanding who is going to give them support and making that public. Like, I follow them constantly, and you would think after the very close call they had to being defunded that they would
Yeah.
be certain of who's running for governor, who's going to support Visit Florida, and they'd be vocal about who that candidate is.
Who's left there that can even make those kind of perceptive ways?
Right.
I mean, they cut the
The
head off.
CEO, yeah, but the CEO of Visit Florida now, he's amazing. He's fantastic.
Who?
He's an ex-Marine. Like, he's fantastic.
Oh, very good. Cool.
Yeah.
I
You've
thought
not
they
seen-
put a warm body in. I didn't know they put anybody that was capable.
Oh, he is fantastic. Like, what he, yeah, if he can stay in that position, like, Visit Florida is going to be really interesting. Not that the previous people were bad.
No,
but
they made a
but-
bad choice.
yeah. So, anyways, back to focus. Don't follow me on Twitter unless you want to watch me troll Alabama and the Power 5 elite. But then on Facebook, LinkedIn, Edward St. Ange, and you can find out about Flip2 by going to flip.to. And Robert,
And the name is Ken Lawson. He is the president's
Ken
CEO
Lawson, that's
of-
it. Yep. He's
Of Visit Florida.
fantastic. Highly recommend you try. Next time they're going to be speaking in your area, go listen to Ken speak. He's a fantastic speaker.
Oh, well, I do.
Yeah.
Mr. Robert, if people want to find you, where do they find you, sir?
They can certainly find me at rockcheetah.com or at Robert K. Cole on all social media. So
And for archives of this show and this show in particular, you can go to hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live, where all the links are, because I've changed the naming protocol of the shows now to not just have the numbers, so that I can get a little bit more organic traction by having the whole string of show name, number, and date, and all that stuff on it. So going to /live is the best place to find all the links. With that,
Oh.
episode 162, huh?
I was just going to add, I looked, I don't know, Ed, Ken Lawson went to Florida State. Is he still okay?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Florida State.
Okay, just checking. Actually, interesting background just before we wrap on here. Captain Judge Advocate in U.S. Marine Corps, Assistant U.S. Attorney in the Criminal Division, Assistant Secretary of Enforcement for the U.S. Department of Treasury, Assistant U.S. Attorney Civil Division, Assistant Chief Counsel for the TSA, Consultant Chief of Party Financial Crimes Advisor for Booz Allen Hamilton, VP of Compliance for basically an anti-money laundering and bank secrecy act thing, Secretary of Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, and now the head of Visit Florida. That is not necessarily the traditional CV that you see for one of these guys. So that's
No, but I'll tell you what, man.
smart. Sounds like a smart lawyer who knows how
but
government
also
works.
just amazing personality, big motivator, like
Yeah. Probably
um,
great leader.
great leadership. You can see it. Yeah, he's fantastic. So Lauren, I would say, like, you should pay attention next time they do something down in your area. I've gotten to meet him a few times and watch him speak a bunch of times. He's very entertaining. And speaking of entertainment, the last thing I'll leave you with, if you have not figured out something to ruin your weekend, I highly recommend Amazon's Jack Ryan series, because
Yes, I have that recorded.
fantastic.
It's good.
No,
Jim, there's also a great video of, I think, Funny or Die put together of basically Jim and Dwight in
Nice.
the kind of the Jack Ryan
Nice.
framing sort of thing. I will add the link to that as well. That it's
Yes.
very, very well done.
Important. But
Gentlemen,
yes,
thank you all.
fantastic series.
very much. Stuart, thanks for attempting to join us early before you lost
Be
your internet.
safe,
Hope
everyone
everything's
in the
well.
Carolinas.
Yes,
Be safe in that
absolutely.
area. I'll give you next week, show number 163. Woohoo! Friday, 11:30 Eastern. Till then, gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll see everyone else next Friday.